Hi, so in today's video, I want to talk a little bit about architects and how they might charge for listed buildings, and if it's more expensive to get an architect involved for a listed building than it would be a normal building. And, putting it very, very simply, the answer is probably yes, it is going to likely to be a little bit more expensive. You're reliant on an architect with a little bit more experience and expertise, and with that probably comes a little bit more work involved in delivering sort of a listed building. And that can start from the very beginning in really understanding the brief and what you're looking to do, but also really understanding the heritage fabric around the building, what can and can't be done, undertaking specific searches. There may even be scope for the architect to be working with a heritage consultant. All of those things are likely to add to a little bit additional cost on getting planning for your listed building, but also working with an architect through the project process. And it's not a cost that is one that should be frowned upon necessarily. It is likely that over the course of the project, by engaging an architect at the outset on working with you on the listed building, it is likely to save you money in that they are likely to be a little bit more aware as to how to do certain things, not get yourself in trouble. Remember, if you do anything wrong in a listed building, it is a criminal offence. So your architect should be aware of how to keep you out of trouble and make you mindful of anything that you change. So quite often we'll be in a situation where a client might be like, can we take this particular part of the wall out on a listed building? And our first response will be no, because you don't have planning permission. Now, had we have not been involved in that sort of building project process, the planner may have instructed the builder, please remove the wall, and subsequently they could be liable for sort of criminal damage to a listed building. So it's kind of understanding what is allowed, what isn't allowed, and they're almost that security to make sure that you're not doing anything untoward that is later going to cause a problem for you. And it might be that you're never caught when you make those changes, but it does become problematic when you then come and sell the building. So we do have instances where customers have bought a listed building and they have to buy an indemnity policy against changes that a previous owner has made to protect them against the council coming after them for making sort of what are illegal changes. It's worth also noting with listed buildings, you don't get consent automatically after 5 years if it's not been found out. Effectively, at any stage, if you've done any work to a listed building and without consent, then the planning office can come after you for any reason around that. So just be wary of that. So in terms of how much does it cost for the architect to engage an architect for a listed building, it will very much depend on what it is you're looking to do and how extensive you want their involvement to be. Like I said, we typically advise and recommend, particularly on listed buildings, that we go from start to finish. In our instance, as a practice, we work on a fixed fee, even on listed buildings, but other practices may work on a percentage basis. Understand what you're comfortable with and what you can budget for, and work with your architect to make sure that they're helping you in the best way possible to get the most out of the building work, but also to get the most out of all of the stages within it. So through planning, to making it as seamless and stress-free as possible to ensure that the planning office can give you permission first time. And then as you're working through the detailed design, really understanding the fabric of the building to make sure that something isn't being proposed that is going to be detrimental to the heritage or the fabric of the building. And by that, I mean, so for example, if you are perhaps putting in treating walls in a certain way, making sure you're using the right paint for the right surface that's there, because in some instances certain materials are not compatible with others, and so that real understanding around those things, the breathability of the building. So quite often on a listed building we'll use a different type of insulation. It doesn't mean to say you can't insulate your home. Of course you can look to insulate it subject to getting planning permission to insulate it, but when you do insulate it, you want to use the right type of insulation to allow the building to breathe, so that you're not causing another issue going forward and compounding a problem in relation to that. So all of that kind of experience and value that the architect can bring to your listed building is likely to add additional cost to their services, and that will be reflected, but is likely, again, as I said at the outset there, to save you money in the long run and be of some form of benefit to you. So just a little kind of thinking about, is it more expensive to get an architect involved for a listed building? Yes, but it's probably going to be way more expensive if you don't. So just consider the value in the two things and understand what your architect can bring to your project.